January 28, 1986. Challenger history. Resting beneath the ocean. The Atlantic Ocean has a way of hiding stories that never asked to be forgotten. Some fell quietly. Others fell from the sky. On January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart just 73 seconds after launch. What followed was not only a tragedy in the air, but a long, silent chapter beneath the ocean. Today, this story does not begin on land. It begins underwater. Beneath the surface of the Atlantic, far from launch pads and television cameras, pieces of Challenger came to rest. Heavy components descended through cold water, spinning slowly as gravity pulled them down. The ocean received them without sound. Down here, light fades fast. As Challenger's debris sank, it passed through layers of temperature and pressure. The warm surface waters disappeared. Darkness closed in. What had been advanced aerospace technology moments earlier now entered a world that does not care about innovation or ambition. The first pieces reached the seafloor within minutes. Large structural fragments hit the sediment and settled into soft sand. Smaller fragments drifted farther, scattered by underwater currents. Over time, these pieces formed a debris field silent, spread out, unmoving. The ocean floor here is not dramatic. It is flat, cold, endless, and that made it easier for the sea to erase detail. Saltwater began its work immediately. Protective coatings failed, metals reacted, sharp edges dulled. The ocean did not destroy the debris quickly, it preserved it just enough to remember. Above the wreckage, the surface world searched for answers. The loss of Challenger shook the world. Investigations began at once. The cause would later be traced to a failure in a solid rocket booster joint, an O-ring compromised by cold temperatures. But beneath the waves, there were no conclusions, only aftermath. Some debris was recovered during extensive search operations led by NASA and the US Navy. Sonar scans, remotely operated vehicles, and deep-sea equipment mapped the seabed and identified wreckage locations. Yet not everything was retrieved. Some fragments were left behind. Down here, Challenger became something else. Not a spacecraft, not wreckage, but an underwater site shaped by pressure, time, and silence. Sediment slowly began to cover exposed surfaces. Fine particles settled into seams and cavities. Any remaining air pockets vanished. The ocean equalized everything. Marine life arrived cautiously. Small fish passed through gaps. Crustaceans explored edges. Life does not recognize tragedy, it recognizes shelter. And Challenger, even in pieces, provided it. This is where the story truly changes, because underwater, time moves differently. 1 year beneath the Atlantic felt longer than decades above it. After 1 year underwater, the Challenger debris field no longer looked new. It looked settled. Currents had rearranged smaller fragments, pushing them into shallow depressions or clustering them behind heavier objects. Larger pieces remained where they had first fallen, partially embedded in the seabed. Corrosion had begun to mark everything. Saltwater crept across metal surfaces, leaving discoloration and pitting. Bolts weakened, edges flaked. Composite materials showed signs of delamination. What once endured extreme heat and pressure in space now struggled against slow chemical decay. Inside hollow sections, darkness ruled. These cavities trapped sediment and organic material, creating microenvironments. Some areas experienced little water movement, slowing corrosion. Others were constantly washed by currents, accelerating wear. The ocean is uneven in its destruction. Sunlight never reached this depth. Artificial light, if ever present, would reveal floating particles like dust in a forgotten room. Nothing moved fast. The debris field told a quiet story of physics rather than violence. There were no explosions here, no fire. Only gravity, water, and time. Recovered components on the surface helped investigators piece together the cause of the disaster. But the fragments left behind served a different purpose. They became witnesses. Not witnesses that speak, but witnesses that endure. 1 year after the disaster, Challenger's remaining debris had become part of the seabed. Not buried completely, not exposed fully, balanced between visibility and disappearance. Storms above occasionally disturbed the water column. Powerful weather systems transferred energy downward, stirring currents that shifted sand and revealed or concealed fragments. The site changed subtly, season by season. Marine organisms increased. Barnacles attached to rough surfaces. Algae clung where light briefly filtered down. Small creatures took refuge in gaps and shadows. The debris began transitioning into habitat. But unlike shipwrecks, Challenger's remains lacked structure. There were no long corridors or enclosed rooms, only fragments, edges, and broken forms. This fragmentation made the site feel scattered. There was no single focal point, no recognizable outline. Just pieces, spread across the ocean floor like punctuation marks in a sentence that ended too soon. Respect surrounded the site. The remaining debris was not treated as salvage. It was treated as memorial. Access was limited. Disturbance was avoided. Because underwater this was not merely history. It was memory. The Atlantic preserved Challenger without ceremony. No plaque marked the site. No monument rose above it. Only silence and the slow, steady process of nature reclaiming material never meant to be here. The deeper the ocean works, the quieter history becomes. As years pass, the Challenger debris continues to change. But even 1 year beneath the ocean was enough to transform meaning. Above the surface, Challenger became a lesson about engineering, risk, and responsibility. Below the surface, it became a place defined by depth, pressure, and stillness. Underwater, there is no past or future, only presence. Each remaining fragment rests where physics placed it. There is no intention, no direction, just acceptance. The ocean does not judge human error, it absorbs it. Corrosion continues slowly. Sediment thickens. Marine growth expands. Over decades, fragments may become unrecognizable, blending fully into the seabed. But the story does not disappear. Because history is not only written in books, it is written in location. The Atlantic Ocean holds Challenger as it holds countless other remnants of human ambition. Ships, planes, cables, experiments, mistakes. Down here, all become equal. Steel from warships, aluminum from spacecraft, glass from lost instruments, all reduced to material under pressure. Yet Challenger stands apart. Not because of size or design, but because of meaning. It reminds us that even our highest achievements can end in the deepest places, that progress carries risk, and that the ocean will always be there to receive what falls. For a deep-sea documentary audience, Challenger's underwater story is not about spectacle. It is about perspective. Looking at the ocean floor forces us to understand scale, not only of depth, but of consequence. The distance between launchpad and seabed is vast, but the transition can happen in seconds. And once something reaches the deep sea, it rarely returns. Challenger's remaining debris will likely remain untouched for generations, slowly dissolving, slowly integrating, quietly existing. The Atlantic does not tell stories loudly. It tells them patiently. And beneath its surface, Challenger rests, not as a spacecraft, not as wreckage, but as a chapter of history written in water, pressure, and time.